The next talk will be CM 76867, Fedexia striegeli, Pittsburgh's late Paleozoic treasure by Amy Henrici.
Thank you. Okay. Often while I'm conducting tours of the collections, I've been asked what my favorite fossil is. And I used to say that I had numerous favorite fossils, but none really stood out as my absolute favorite. And as you can imagine, kids were not thrilled with this answer. And so this all changed, however, after the discovery of a fossil we named Fedexia striegeli. Which way? Thank you.
One more.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, stop this. All right, now it should work. There we go.
Okay, Fedexia striegeli. The specimen consists of an articulated skull and jaws that you can see in several views there. It was discovered in 2004 by Adam Striegel, who was an undergraduate student and an education major at the University of Pittsburgh. Adam was taking a non-majors geology class, and he participated in a field trip to a road cut leading up to what was then the new FedEx ground headquarters. And this road cut was very fresh at that time. It wasn't covered with crown vetch and stuff. The road cut traverses a 120-meter thick section of the late Pennsylvanian Castleman Formation, which is roughly 303 million years old. The professor who led this field trip, Charlie Jones, had told his students to keep their eyes out for fossil ferns. And Adam told me that he picked up a rock from the base of the road cut and looked at it and thought he saw a fossil fern in it. And then he told me he threw the rock back on the ground, like that. So later, when he was walking back to the bus with his professor, he saw the rock and picked it up and showed it to him. And Jones realized that it was a fossil skull. And what Adam thought was a fern frond was actually the upper and lower teeth occluded, which you can see in the skull picture on the far right. Now you have to keep in mind at this time the fossil was covered in rock, and the skull openings, the orbit and nostril were just ghostly outlines, and the teeth weren't well exposed. So eventually they brought the skull to the Carnegie Museum to show to curator Dave Berman, who is an expert on fossils from this time period. And Dave took one look at it and said, he just declared, "That's a trematopid amphibian." And we're all like, "What?" And it's because it has a very elongated narial opening, which shows up best in the image on the far right. Yeah, far right. So trematopids have a very elongated narial opening. So anyways, after some conversation, Adam agreed to donate the skull to the Carnegie Museum. Then we had to obtain permission from the FedEx ground headquarters because after all, the fossil was found on their property. They fortunately were agreeable about this, and so later we gave both Adam and the FedEx headquarters office, a cast of the skull. So I was lucky in being the one who got to prepare the skull, that is, remove all the rock and expose the bone, and I got to be a part of the team that described the fossil. So part of the deal, let's see, Dave Berman was the one who coined the generic name Fedexia, which is obviously based on the landowner that the property the fossil was discovered on. And part of the deal in getting Adam to donate the skull was that we named it in his honor. So striegeli for Striegel, Adam Striegel. Well, Fedexia is interesting. It's a member of the family Trematopidae, which is a group of extinct medium-sized carnivorous terrestrial amphibians which may have only returned to water to lay eggs. Furthermore, Fedexia is part of a small group of pioneering amphibians and reptiles that began to move away from aquatic environments and inhabit terrestrial environments as climate began changing from humid to semi-arid about 316 million years ago. In response to the changing climate, vast coal-forming swamp deposits, which were primarily inhabited by small aquatic amphibians and fish, at least for vertebrates, gave way to deposits of paleosols, fossil soils, and seasonal freshwater lakes, the environment which Fedexia inhabited, which you can see in this painting. So that would have been soil, and then a temporary lake in the background. The skull of Fedexia also has some really neat features. You can easily tell that it's carnivorous by the long, sharp, pointed teeth, and it even has large palatal tusks in the roof of its mouth. Also, the orbital openings are very tall and subrectangular, which is unique for trematopods and also most amphibians. While I was preparing the fossil and removing rock from the left orbit, so if you want to look at the skull at the top there, I uncovered a dome-shaped sculptured plate of bone, which is known as the palpebral bone. Palpebral bones are thought to form in the upper eyelid, and they protect the eye when the lid is closed. So you can imagine that when Fedexia bit into a prey animal and it starts wiggling and squirming, in order to keep from getting its eye scratched out or badly damaged, it could just close its eyelids and protect it. So Fedexia is the best preserved vertebrate fossil ever found in the Pittsburgh region, and we had a lot of fun with it. Our artist at the time, Mark Klingler, made the painting depicting it in its environment, and this painting was used for press releases when the publication came out. In 2010, the Carnegie Museum hosted the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology meetings, and we had the meetings then to highlight our newly renovated dinosaur halls. But despite this, Fedexia became the star of the meeting logos. So you can see that down in the bottom right-hand corner. And in fact, Dave even had these baseball caps made up with the Fedexia SDP logo on them for us to wear and give out to our friends. Thank you.